Well, good morning and happy Friday. We've made it to the end of the week. Welcome to Still Up with 6, where the conversation continues here on your social media platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to thank you guys for joining us. 43 of you right now waking up on this Friday morning. We have made it to the end of the week, and we're kicking things off with the big story right now, certainly trending online. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about it. In an interview with Lisa Leslie, a former WNBA star, Gayle King, really started to narrow in on Kobe Bryant, who was very close to Lisa Leslie, and talk about if the fact about his past and the allegations that were made against him back in Colorado tarnished his reputation at all. And that's led to a lot of people being pretty upset, certainly on social media. Yeah,
I mean, celebrities are tweeting at Gayle. She's being dragged online for these comments, and she's since taken to her Instagram and to her Twitter and posted a candid video of herself saying that the network took it out of context when they posted that one clip that went viral that everyone's talking about, saying that, you know, she didn't mean to upset anybody and whatnot. But it's really interesting because a lot of people are saying, Gayle, why did you have to go there? It's a little bit, number one, too soon while the family's still mourning. Of course, they haven't even had his funeral done yet. And so a lot of people are saying, you know, this was way too soon, and Gayle should have not gone there in that interview. And she also went on record and said that Lisa Leslie was not upset about her interview with her.
Good morning to you, Shirley. I think that there was a moment in that interview that was very poignant for me when Lisa Leslie said, people have had years to ask these questions. Why bring it up now? So if you've had questions about what happened and the allegations brought against him, then there was a lot of a long period of time where he could have done so. Not to mention, we have to have faith in our judicial system from time to time. If we don't have faith in our judicial system, then what do we have? And Kobe Bryant was not convicted of any crime. How you may feel about settlements out of court or the details of that case are outside of the realm of the court. The fact of the matter is he wasn't convicted of a crime. So I think that, you know, bringing up something that there was no criminal record or anything, even despite the fact it was a big story, it does more damage than it does good.
And that's what Lisa Leslie said. She said that he had to stay in court and he was not found guilty for anything. And I loved her point. You touched on this. I loved her point when she said, we've had years and years, you know, journalists are curious people. They want to get to the answers. They have questions. Why didn't you ask this when he was still with us? And so I thought that was a really, really pivotal point in that interview. And in that conversation, I felt like that was it. That's where it should have been untouched moving further. I think that Gayle should have wrapped it up.
Well, I think that and it's possible that, you know, that Gayle King is correct when she says something was taken out of context. But that clip that was shown, she seems to keep going back and revisiting the same points.
She has maybe 3, 4 questions in that clip.
Right, and people might say that this is good or bad, part of his legacy. Maybe, and that's a different debate, I think. But I think right now, with the pain so fresh, not only across the nation, across the world, but with his family, in as big as a platform as Gayle has. I mean, Gayle has some of the biggest interviews. It's must-watch television when she gets to sit down. To have that kind of platform and immediately dive into that kind of rhetoric, I don't think it does anyone any good. I don't think that Lisa Leslie's going to say anything groundbreaking there, especially they were very close. So I can't see the value in this at all.
I was honestly even shocked that they even did the story, to be quite honest, because I felt like there was no value to it. It wasn't timely or anything. I mean, it was a friend, Lisa Leslie, mourning her friend Kobe Bryant and talking about him in a positive light after his sudden passing. And so I was just a little bit shocked with why this continued to be a thing. But now Gayle is responding to all the backlash, and she's blaming her network, and I don't know. It's just, I think it's a little bit messy. It's a little messy.
I'd be interested to see the entire context of that interview, what part she's saying was taken out of context, if it was in the flow of the conversation. It didn't seem to be.
Yeah, that's what she's saying. She's saying it was in the flow of the conversation. It wasn't something that was abruptly brought up during her conversation with Lisa. But like you said, she kept kept going back. She kept going back. And at the end of the day, it's like, at what point do you just back off? You know, even if it wasn't the flow of conversation, you have one question, maybe two, and then that's it. You got to just go back to the reason why you're doing the story, which is to talk about this man and his legacy.
I think the anger and the outrage comes from the fact that this is not a case that was unsettled. This was not something that was still ongoing and then Kobe Bryant tragically passed away and there were really no answers. This case was settled out of court, and how you feel about that is up to you, years and years and years ago. So the fact that it was settled out of court years ago, and now these questions are starting to come up with his death, it seems to be you're jumping on it, looking for clicks, looking for a reaction from the people that are close to him.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what, you know, whoever had cut the clip wanted, is a reaction from people, wanted it to go viral, wanted people to tune in to CBS This Morning to watch the full interview. But I just think it should have been left where it was at. Even if it was a natural flow of conversation and you had a question, you're curious, Gayle, I think it should have just been at that. And I think that that's where a lot of people are outraged. And you know what, Chris, you brought up a good point. People are still mourning Kobe Bryant and his daughter and everyone else who was part of that helicopter crash. And I think because the family is specifically still mourning, this is not the time to be addressing any questions you had. And I think that Lisa made that great point by saying, you had all these years. This is not something that just happened, and I think that that's the one part that outrages so many people. And
I would say this as well, and of course I don't have any context or any perspective coming from this type of person, but if you talk about the young woman from Colorado, I don't know how this does anything to bringing up that kind of situation does anything for her or how she's trying to move on, because that was a media frenzy in a spotlight.
Yeah.
So I just don't see that. Of course, you're going for the gotcha reaction. Gayle King is probably trying to get some kind of clippable soundbite from Lisa Leslie. I don't think it does a whole lot of good here. I don't think that anyone is really trying to hear about a past case.
I agree, especially when the man was so suddenly killed in a crash. I just think that it doesn't add to anything. And sure, maybe they were going after the clicks, but I just don't think that it was the time for it.
Maybe you disagree at home. If you do and you're watching right now, we've got quite a number of people watching alongside us this morning. If you are watching alongside us, let us know. Vicki Davis Taylor says, good morning, you're great. Oh, thanks, Vicki. We think you're pretty great yourself. But I think it's definitely a conversation that a lot of people are having. And there are going to be mixed opinions. There are going to be people that say, when you think about Kobe Bryant, you have to think about the whole picture. In this court case, maybe with that is a part of his story. I don't think it's the part we should be focusing on right now. No. If you're going to write the story of Kobe Bryant, and that story will be written and has been written about, certainly in a documentary or in a movie or in a book,
memoir,
that could be something that's included. But right now, when the pain's so fresh, I don't think it should be the thing we should be focusing on, especially because so much time has passed.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that Lisa had great answers, and you can tell that she really did love Kobe. And yeah, I wonder what's going to happen. I think the big question is what happens next with Gayle. Is this something that just she moves on from and learns from, hopefully, or is this something that's going to impact her career moving forward and her credibility as well?
Well, Gayle seems to be upset at her own network, saying that she feels this was taken out of context. I will, you got to give journalists the benefit of the doubt sometimes. Be interested, and I will watch that full interview to see how the flow of that conversation went. I can't imagine that Lisa Leslie, being as close to Kobe Bryant as she was, would bring it up on her own volition, but you never know how these interviews play out.
We want to say hi to Tom. He's actually watching on YouTube. Good morning to you, Tom. Thank you so much for watching. Still up with 6.
And Tom's watching all the way from overseas, and this is something that I'm sure the conversation's being had overseas as well. The Kobe Bryant has far-reaching scope.
Angela is weighing in this morning saying, morning, y'all. Morning to you, Angela. And she's saying that conversation wasn't necessary. He's gone, and that was long ago. And I think that's what has so many people upset. Not only is he gone, he cannot defend himself. He cannot make any comment about this. But that was so long ago. If this was something that was just now happening and then he passed, I can see why that would be a conversation to have. But because it's been years and years, decades, I mean, since this happened, and we discussed this, and it was a big news story and a big situation in court, I just think you're right. Angela said it perfectly. Let's let him rest in peace right now. So,
and of course, he doesn't feel the pain of what's going on when those kind of clips go viral. But his family does.
His family.
His family does. And the last thing that his wife needs to hear right now, or the last thing that his young daughters need to be reminded of right now, is any kind of scandal that involved their father. Because despite how you feel about that particular case, it's undeniable the good that Kobe Bryant did.
Yes.
It's undeniable the kind of impact that he had. This is coming from Ronnie, who says it should have been asked while living. I think that's a lot of what people think. Bill says, I didn't like Kobe, but people need to just leave him and hit pass alone and give the family space. It's a sad situation with all that passed. Okay, and Bill, thanks for being candid this morning, saying, hey, I wasn't the biggest fan of Kobe,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be, but he still has some perspective on this and understands that maybe it wasn't the right time.
Yeah, and I think we can all agree that it wasn't. And because it's been so long, I think that makes it even more of a question mark as to why this was even brought up in the first place. But, you know, you guys are weighing in, and we like that. We like when you guys joined the conversation this morning here on Still Up.
Yeah, I think it was a good conversation, and
It was,
a lot
yeah.
of you joined this morning. Thanks for your perspectives. Certainly a conversation that's going to be had in a lot of different office spaces, a lot of different living rooms
sure.
For the next couple days. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week on Still Up with Six all week long, and we are going to head out right now. Have a good weekend. We hope you have a good weekend at home, and we can't wait to see you guys on Monday.
Yeah, we'll be back. Texas Today, 4:30 to 7 a.m., and then Still Up on social media.